Okay, good evening. It is Kevin here. Just wanted to walk you through the Tesla Energy app, which is the same app that you have for your vehicles. You can slide back and forth, but we'll stay on the energy side. This is the main home page that you'll get to when you create your My Tesla account with your email and password when you order it. Once it's installed and turned on, you sign in, this is what you'd see, or it'll get linked up to your vehicle account if you already have one. We'll go through the 5 main features here at the bottom: power flow, performance, backup history, customize, which is a pretty important one, and a relatively new one there is service. Up at the top half of the screen, you have this little image rendering of imaginary or fake home here, showing the system on the roof. We have solar, and we have the image of the Powerwall 2X, meaning we have 2 Powerwalls and the current state of charge at 61%. Good overview of that. If you didn't have solar, you wouldn't see solar on that roof, and if you didn't have Powerwalls, you wouldn't see the Powerwalls below. I, on the day-to-day, usually look in at this power flow, which just shows a live view of the gateway, really, which is showing that 0.5 kilowatts is coming from the batteries and moving into the home. We're not generating any solar now that the sun is set, and we're not touching the grid because the power walls can handle all of our energy consumption in the home right now. If you click on this graph in the top right, you can see an overview of different things. I'll click in on today, or the day view, where you can go back in time. You can do that also for the week, month, year, or lifetime. You got these 4 main icons up top. So blue is home, yellow is solar, green is power, and then gray is the grid. That's the flow of power from all of these. So the home is always going to be these spikes above the x-axis showing our energy consumption. These sharp, fairly tall ones, that's the air conditioning kicking on and off throughout the night to keep us at a cool temperature. Right when we get to about 7:20 or so, waking up, turning on lights, making coffee, making toast, maybe running a microwave, etc. And then you got a bigger spike here when we were drying some laundry, and we were gone for a little bit. You see it kind of flatline again. You're really only seeing spikes when you're using real appliances in the home, air conditioner, microwave, oven, stovetop if it's electric, etc. And then some of these taller spikes, 8.6 kilowatts, that's generally charging an electric vehicle. And then we got a big spike of about 10.8 here. We were running the air conditioner and drying some laundry. Lots of air conditioner usage here. Those are all those little spikes. The total's 35.3 kilowatt hours today. You can see the solar production. So we started getting some energy production at 7:45 a.m. kind of throughout the day, and then it flat lines around 7:20 or so as that sun sets and goes away. The power walls here, spikes above are it feeding the house, maybe to supplement the solar, or throughout the night you're going to be pulling off the batteries depending on the settings you have. And then the spikes below the x-axis is the solar recharging power walls. And then essentially nothing with the grid here except below the x-axis, us back feeding the grid. You can see we put 7.1 kilowatt hours back into the grid and pulled just 0.2. I think that's more of the gateway just misinterpreting energy flow or accidentally pulling from the grid for a period of time, but pretty insignificant. I usually have it on this overview showing all of the different flows. You can quickly glance, see what happened. You learn to handle this busyness, but you always can change it if you want. You can look at a week, which so far we only have 1 day in this week, or the month view. The system's been awesome. The home's not consuming much, 752 kilowatt hours right now. We haven't been air conditioning too much, despite what you saw in that graph before. And the system's produced a lot, 1,578 kilowatt hours. Super thrilled with that. and we've put nearly 800 kilowatt hours back into the grid. Curious to see if we'll pull on that and use up those credits in the summer when it's substantially warmer. Jumping back to the main page, performance. That's just showing you where your home's energy consumption and power is coming from. So for today, we have 46% of that coming from the solar and 54% coming from the power walls. Below here, 105% energy offset. Simply just showing that we've produced more than we've consumed. I think by the time this day is over, we'll end up pretty close to 100%. You could be below percent and still have not touched the grid. You'd simply just be using more from the power walls and depleting them. For the course of a month, 210% energy offset. We're producing far more than we're consuming, which is the ideal circumstance and certainly what we gauged. If you had pulled from the grid when sometimes you just simply will have to, you would see that reflected in a portion of this app as well. I think if we probably go back in time, you'll see that. We did actually end up pulling from the grid for one reason or another on this day. But overall, we're certainly producing more than we're using. Backup history just shows if you've had any power loss events that the gateway is going to record. On March 20th for 57 minutes, we ran off-grid, and this was simply because I flipped the breaker and wanted to test it out myself. The only other time was December 19th. After Tesla did the install, they did a 12-minute test. And then all the previous dates before that were short little power losses at our previous home where we had these two power walls where we had them moved. Maybe one day I'll make a video on that. It wasn't too complex, but it did cost $2,400 to get that move done. Tesla took them out of our old home, cleaned up the walls where they were installed, stored them for a bit, and then reinstalled them. I don't think many people are going to go through that process, but for $15,000 of batteries, we thought we would move them over here because the buyer of our home didn't kind of see the value in them. Not a big deal. We wanted them here. One of them is a Founder Series battery through the referral program, so certainly wanted to bring that over. And then customize. This is probably the most important part of the app that you'll set and forget for the most part. This allows your system to operate exactly how you want it to. So on the top, backup only. If you wanted to preserve all the power in your power walls to be used only in the event that you use power, you'd click that setting up top. This is good in areas where you're frequently losing power, certainly not here in Central Florida, so we operate off the second mode, which is self-powered. And this is where the system is just trying to operate without touching the grid as much as possible. So pulling from the batteries at night, solar during the day, but you can still reserve a percentage that you choose. I usually keep it between 25 and 35%, so that once the power walls get down to that amount, they'll stop discharging. You'd switch over to grid power if it was nighttime, and you'd keep that last little bit left for a power loss event. I've found about 25 or 30% is going to leave you enough to get through the night and to the point where your solar can recharge the batteries and take over supplying the house with power. Advanced is super helpful for people in the Northeast, out west, and other areas that have different utility rates based on time of day. So the power walls could only discharge in the early afternoon, early evening when utility rates are substantially more expensive in some areas. Your power wall could then discharge power, help you save a lot of money, and actually recoup quite a bit of the cost pretty quickly by shifting from those expensive high peak demand times and rates to more off-peak, lower utility rate times. Storm Watch is a fabulous feature to keep on. This is just connecting with the local weather network, and if any storm alerts are coming, your Powerwalls can switch into Storm Watch mode, where they will quickly recharge off the grid as quick as they can, and to stop discharging in anticipation of a power loss event. So think snowstorm or ice storm coming, high winds, tornado, or for us here in Florida, if a hurricane's inbound, you want the batteries to be charged up to 100%, ready to rock in the event that you lose power. So that happens automatically. It's communicating with the weather networks in your area through the gateway. Happens completely seamlessly, nothing you have to do there. Very, very cool feature. And then in that event that you've lost power, you can control when or if your electric vehicle would charge. So for me, I have it at 95%. That's basically just stating that the car, if we have gone off grid, is not going to pull any energy out of the Powerwalls unless they're above 95%. And the reason being, our Model 3 holds about 5 Powerwalls worth of energy, so it could very quickly deplete the Powerwalls if we lost power and then the car started pulling to start charging. If you've lost power, especially during a hurricane, it's not super important that you actually do charge your vehicle. You're likely not going to be driving anywhere. So I keep this pretty high. That leaves me with confidence that the Powerwall power, if we are off grid, is going to be reserved for the home and not the car's consumption. Then lastly, service, which is relatively new and a great feature, works just like the car or vehicle side of the app, where if you have any issues that come up, you can communicate with Tesla directly here. All the messaging, billing, invoicing, etc. It's going to happen right through the app. You don't have to call a 1-800 number, be on hold for a while. You can do all that through here, which is really quite fabulous and seamless, which is what Tesla's trying to do on that customer experience side. You've got the software version, they continuously update, and then you have serial numbers if you ever needed to provide those to Tesla for some reason. And then you can click this little treasure chest in the top right, and that shows any referral rewards or status, what the current offers are, be it giving free charging to somebody that might use it, or some monetary compensation if somebody uses your referral link to order solar. But that's a fairly detailed overview. If anybody wants me to go over anything in more detail or has any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below and I'll be happy to get those answered for you. Take care.